This clip will look at some of the other aspects of a field properties and an access database. So in advance of this clip, there's a validation rule on the salary column limiting the values between 30 and 50,000, and a validation rule on the status column limiting the values that are allowed to one of the three options there: contract, part-time, and permanent. So we're going to go into the table properties. We're going to go into design view, and we're going to look at some more aspects for these two fields in particular, for salary and for status. So as you can see here, the validation rule says that the salary must be at least 30,000 and no more than 50,000. So what I can do here is put in a message or validation text, which will say something like, please enter, or please choose a salary no lower than 30,000 and no higher than 50,000. So again, my recommendation is not to make too many changes to a table at a time. Save as you make one slight change. Save the table by closing it here, and Access will save the table for me. Now open it up, and if I take an employee here, we'll say the last employee again, and I put in 60,000, or try to put in 60,000 for his or her salary, and navigate away from him. What's happening now is that instead of a standard MS Access message appearing, it's my own customized message that appears at this time, where it says, please choose a salary no lower than 30,000 and no higher than 50,000. So the validation rule is kind of a default validation rule box that'll pop up. But this is maybe a more customized one to use the terminology that your own users are familiar with. So that's warning me that it says that the value must be no lower than 30,000 and no higher than 50,000. So therefore my 60,000 is no good to me. So I'll put it back to 50,000. That demonstrates how the validation text complements or supports the validation rule. They're two separate things, but if you break the rule, the validation text comes in handy as a way of informing the user what has gone wrong and maybe how to correct it. Okay, so in the go back again to table properties for the salary column, or the field properties for the salary column, there's the validation rule, and then below it is the validation text. Now, another feature that might be worth looking at from the point of view of this column, the salary column, is say that most of the employees who join us, say they all have a certain basic salary. So if the majority of employees or dentists that join this practice are earning 45,000, then you can put in a default value of 45,000. So now you have the validation rule saying it must be a minimum of 30,000 and a max of 50,000. You have a prompt in the case of error message or of inappropriate data been entered. Outside that 30 to 50,000 range, then you have a validation message or a prompt that'll tell the user what the problem is and how maybe to rectify it. And now our third component here is the default value. So we'll close and save the table again to make sure that these new changes are implemented or are in effect in the database. So we open the table. And now what you'll notice is that there's 7 records here. So the last row here is for any future records might be entered, or where they can begin. So there's already a value of 45,000 appearing in the salary column. And that's because I have a default value there of 45,000. So if I put in number 8 and give them very brief details, DG, okay, and I'll put in D for Dunlow, and I'll make it Uni ID number 11, and so on. I'll skip the date for the moment. That Access automatically populates the salary column with 45,000 rather than leaving it blank. So I can overwrite that 45,000 and make it 35,000 if I wish, or make it 30,000 if I wish. And then I click away from it, and that's fine because the 35,000 is within my my 30 to 50,000 band. Okay, here in my contract column, or my status column, sorry, I can give my employee one of the 3 possible values. So I can make it contract, part-time, or permanent. So as long as I spell the word contract correctly, if I leave out the T, for example, and click away from it, Access doesn't like that possibility. So again, what I'm getting in this location here for the status column is I'm getting the inbuilt kind of validation text where it says one or more values prohibited by the validation rule or validation rule that consists of contract or part-time or permanent. That's the default message that Access will show you. And it warns me then to enter a valid expression. So I'm going to say okay to that I agree with it. And I'm going to put in contract. So likewise, I can switch back again to design view. And I can go to status column this time. And I have my three options there, and I have my validation text. So the text is currently blank. So just like last time around, I could make contract my default value. Okay, that'll be the one that Access will automatically include if I don't suggest an alternative value. And my validation text, I can follow a similar approach that I did for the salary column and say something like, please choose one of the following values. One of the following 3 values for the status. Or dentist status, yeah. I'm going to say contract, comma part-time, comma permanent. So the validation text is just there to kind of guide the user. So I'm going to save the table again to prove this works. Save the table, open it in datasheet view. I'm looking at this. This is the record I entered a moment ago where I put in kind of an incomplete details for an employee. So I'm going to delete that, or a dentist rather. I can delete that. And I'll start a new one. So for my new record, what you'll notice here is that there are now two default values. One for the salary of 45,000 and one for the status of contract. So I can populate the remaining values if I wish. For row number 8 again, so I'll call him F for whatever, H, I'll go M for Milford, I'll go 12 for the university, and so on. So again here I can either take the default value of 45,000 or I can amend it and reduce it to 43,000 or put it up to 47,000 if I wished. So as long as it sticks within that limit or restriction between 30,000 and 50,000, it's fine. And I can do the same thing with contract. I can either accept the default or I can put in my own choice, which might be permanent. I'm going to click away from the record, or if I save the table, both of those movements will check that the data is fine. And if it's fine, the Access won't complain. But if I open the table again, you'll see that I have this new employee added. And I've given him or her an ID, or a first name, a last name, a town, a uni ID, and then I have for the salary, I've ignored the default value and put in 43,000 instead. And likewise for the status, I've ignored the contract status as the default value and put in permanent instead. So that shows how validation rules, and in particular in this case, validation text, can help the user follow what's meant to be done, can prompt the user. So again, if I put in the wrong value here, I'll take out contract and I'll try and type in temp and navigate away. So Access warns me, please choose one of the following 3 values for the dentist status, contract or part-time or permanent. So okay that, and I'll put back in the intended value of contract. So that's an indication as to how validation text can complement validation rules in the Microsoft Access database.